Hey guys, welcome to the fucking mess on my screen. Today we're gonna fucking do shit. We've learned enough about arrays. I think I'm pretty good at arrays now. We've also learned slices. So let's continue with the book for today. Whoa, book. And so we have file. I think we're gonna get through files today. Files are where coding is the most important, right? So like making a file, important shit. We might even make some shit with this. So we've seen in previous chapters that the standard input and output streams can be redirected to and from files with and other programs with the this, the that, and the pipe operators on terminal. Despite being very powerful, these tools are not suitable in every situation because in many cases, programs cannot complete their tasks simply by reading their input and writing to their output. For example, a program that deals with student records may use its student or standard output to display the program menu. Such a program would need to write the student records to an actual file instead of to standard out. In this chapter, we'll cover reading from and writing to files of file systems. Okay. Oh, this might tie into what I was learning about yesterday. Let's hold on before we continue. VRAM-FS, right? This is some cool shit I was learning about yesterday. VRAM-FS is a VRAM-based file system for Linux. Whoa, very nice. But if you can write files to file systems, then of course, represented by the file struct of. Okay, so it is in the standard input-output module. Since I haven't introduced structs yet, we will have to accept the syntax of a struct construction as is for now. Before getting to code samples, we have to go through fundamental concepts about files. The producer and consumer files are created on one platform may not be readily usable on other platforms. So if like one guy is using Windows and another guy uses Linux, that's a good thing to keep track of, I guess. Or a good thing to account for. Merely opening. So if I were to design for multiple platforms, I need to keep this in mind, that not every platform has the same file system. And obviously, if we were to do anything with VRAM-FS, goddamn, bro, like including that shit and be like, oh, it depends on VRAM-FS for our program to work. Bro. I can actually do that because I have 2 GPUs. So I could create like some kind of weird VRAM file system bullshit, but anyway, the producer and consumer files that are created on one platform may not readily be readily usable on other platforms. Okay, we already covered that. Merely opening a file and writing data to it may not be sufficient for that data to be available on the consumer side. The producer and consumer of the data must have already agreed on the format of the data that is in the file. For example, if the producer has written the ID and name of student records in a certain order, the consumer must read the data back in the same order. Oh, okay. So additionally, code samples below do not write a order mark, a byte order mark, so a BOM, to the beginning of the file. This may make your files incompatible with systems that require a BOM. BOM specifies in what order the UTF code units of characters are arranged in a file. Bro, you know what that means? We could create my own file system probably. Instead of like you have like TOML, YAML, XML, fucking JSON, which is for like JavaScript. Conf, I've seen conf, INI. All those are different like files for storing data. We could create our own method of storing data that could be really shitty. Wow. We could call it the fish file system, or .fsh for .fish. File systems present files to programs under certain access rights. Access rights are important for both data integrity and performance. This is like if it's read or write only, I'm pretty sure. It could also be read and write. Okay, that's cool to learn. When it comes to reading, allowing multiple programs to read from the same file can improve performance because the programs will not have to wait for each other to perform the read operation. On the other hand, when it comes to writing, it is often beneficial to write or to prevent concurrent accesses to a file even when a single program wants to write to it. Hold on, what did I just read? So if it's often beneficial to prevent, okay, so like the same programming accessing the file twice, if that makes sense. If that makes sense, right? Even when only a single program wants to write to it. So like if the same program wants to write to it again, probably shouldn't do that. By locking the file, the operating system can prevent other programs from reading partially written files from overwriting each other's data and so on. So when it comes to reading, allowing, okay. So we could have multiple programs that read from the same file. Interesting. That's like the basics. We could have multi-threading, but like super cringe right now. Shitty threading, bro. Okay. Bro, I thought my GPUs were about to take off. There's a reason I have two of them, so we can use the VRAM for something. By locking the file, okay, so it just works, guys. The standard input-output streams as standard in and standard output are already open when programs start running. They are ready to be used. On the other hand, normal files must be opened by specifying the name, file, and access rights that are needed as well. As we will see in the examples below, creating a file object is sufficient to open the file specified by its name. Okay. So here we have this, which is like creating a file object, and then file, and something with, it's just like a variable almost, but you declare its file, and then the name is file equals file, and then file more. Cool. Closing a file. Any file that has been opened by a program must be closed when the program finishes using the file. In most cases, files are not closed explicitly. They are closed automatically when file objects are terminated automatically. What does it mean? Does it mean that I'm fine to just close the program in the middle and it will... Oh. Maybe when this ends, and I guess when it's terminated with this shit, is this terminating it? I guess. File.close. Then there's file.open. Oh, okay. So I guess this terminates it. I don't know what that means. I need somebody to explain the definition of terminate for me. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. File.open student records. And then R, which is read access. I'm guessing RW would be write access. Read and write. You could open it, close it, to open read access or do some shit like that, right? Wait, oh, writing to files. Okay. Oh. Hang on a second. So what if we had... You could, instead of doing this shit, put a variable, and it looks like it's just standard out write line, same as above. Okay, and then you have file.writeLine, writes to the specified file. So just like you could do standard out, and then .writeLine, this would be like a file.writeLine, and because you declared file, right? So earlier he declares file as the name file equals file student records. So let's try out what we've learned so far. This is pretty interesting. But it's time for me to go. Oh god. You know, I realized this shit's gonna be annoying later. Let me just fucking make that tiny. Let me make my unorganized mess better. Alright, we're gonna create new. We're gonna call this FSH file system. We're gonna create my own file system, guys. We're gonna write to .fish files, which will be UTF text documents technically, but who cares? We're gonna create a new text file. We're gonna call this. Bro, we could encrypt them. Encrypt and decrypt from them, bro. That would take way longer to save data and would be terrible. What if it automatically writes whatever you put into it into a format that can be reused by the program later? Oh man, there's so many ways we could do this. I'm excited to learn about file systems now, how to use file systems. Let's go ahead and call this FSH file, or FSH1, just the prototype. Oh, and it also needs to have the .d at the end. Please add a FSH1.d. So we know it's FSH1, rename it. Fucking help throw that shit in there. Zoom in! Whoa. We're gonna do some programming. There. Get a nice size on that shit, make it nice and clean. We're gonna do the programming now. What is it called? We'll import the standard IO stream, semicolon. I don't think we need anything else for this. We're just gonna do some basic shit. This says it imports the fucking shit we need. So don't worry. And then of course the other shit is that we'll have to declare a file, and then we'll call it FSH. Is that how that works? Or do we just do file? File? Can I just call it fish? Right, I bet I can just call it fish. Wait, I bet he explains it here. File. By a specified name. Oh, okay. File object, this, is sufficient to open the file specified by its name. File equals file student records are. Okay. Okay, maybe we can't do that. It has to be file. We can't create a fish file yet. But we're getting close to the fish files, bro. We're getting so close. But we'll have to put this in void main, because it's not declaring anything. It's just using an object, probably. So put that there, empty parameters, put our scope in. Then we put in file, bro. So the capital file, lowercase file, and then you do the semicolon, or the equal sign, and then file object is declared. Right? I mean, I could try outside and try it beforehand, which would open it up. I'm pretty sure. Parameters for this, I believe, are just the name of the file you want to open. So we'd call it, if we called it like inv.fsh, right? Which would also, we could create an inv.fsh file and then save that. This will be great. We're going to create FSH files. Wow, FSH files. This will be so cool. And then R, in quotation mark R. Right? Yeah, a semicolon at the end. Which just means read. So if we hit Control S, boom. I guess that gives so what does R mean in this scenario? Does R just mean it just exists? Why is there R there? Some cases, different file with different access rights. In such cases, be closed or opened. So then you could do file.close and then file.open. But we'll just try out this shit to start off. We'll just get started with some basic shit so I can understand what I'm learning. Create new text file. We're going to call this inv.fsh. inv.fsh. Okay. See, it's probably not even a file type right now, but what it's going to do is we'll be able to read from this now. So that's cool. Now we can create inv.fsh and create the absolute cringe file of all time. And I mean, config files, right? They have always have standard ways of doing shit, but FSH file gonna be different, bro. It's gonna be completely blow your mind. We're gonna read from the file. We're gonna find where pieces end and begin using different techniques, and then we're gonna use those pieces to create an output from that data. So it's basically we're gonna create a system for config files using an FSH file extension. Inv.fish. Bro, what kind of fucking bullshit is this? Is it? Oh, there's lowercase as well. Cool. So let's go ahead and try this out. We should be able to do a compiler in here. So open this, and then we can do DMD. I believe it's FSH1, and then we can do ./FSH1. It does nothing. Okay, cool. So it closed, and then nothing happened. So that's what we're looking for. That's the expected result you'd expect from that, because that just fucking declares the shit. And then we would want to open what is in FSH1. So let's put some shit in FSH1 to see what that does. Does that give us read access? Will it read out the lines? Hello world. Control S. And then we can do ./FSH1. Oh. Bro, what the fuck? Bro, fuck. That shit's okay. I want to read FSH1 now. So we would do file.open student records. Let's try out something else too. I'm curious. Does this is just declaring the object. And we know objects are variables, right? That's how that works. You can declare an object and then paste that shit in there. So if I do this and I can compile it again, I mean, it doesn't have anything in void main. So let's put some shit in void main too. File standard write line writes to the specified file. End of, to determine the end of a file. EOF determines whether the end of the file has been reached. While reading from that file, returns true if the end of the file has been reached. Okay, so this is a way to detect if you're reading the file. So this is like a while loop. The standard.file module contains functions and types that are useful when working with contents of directories. For example, exists can be used to determine whether a file or directory exists on the file systems. If exists, and there, so this is how you'd be like, oh, if exists, there is fish tech, you can then be like, else there's no directory under that name. Then boom. Standard input file struct. The file struct is included in standard IO module. To use it, you specify the name of the file you want to open and desired access rights or mode. It uses the same mode characters that are used by fopen of the C programming languages. Okay, makes sense. It's like file open. So R is read access, R plus is read and write access. So we want to give ourselves read and write access. So we'll give it this one, R plus. Perfect. R plus plus. Whoa, oh wait, write access? Read and write access. If the file does not exist, it is created by as an empty. Okay. So, W plus. We're gonna test this and see if this will create .fish file. We're gonna delete inv.fish. And we're gonna try it again. Ready. And hold on. We're gonna go into this DMD compiler. DMB to fish. Ew. Oh god. fopen64 cannot be interpreted at the compile time because it has no available source. Cut, paste, Control S. See if it was just that it was in void main that's causing an issue. Oh yeah, now it works. /fish, and it should have created our inv.fish file, which is an empty 0-byte document. Cool. So we'll delete that again. And then we want it to store information in this. Or, yeah, that's cool. This is very cool, guys. I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. I know this is going to be used for inventory management, now that we have access to like file writing and shit. Cool. Alright, so, but once that's open, that means anytime I reference file, it'll probably just fucking work. I hope to God that's the case. Append access, if the file does not exist, it is created as an empty. If the file already exists, its contents are preserved, and it is opened to be written at the end. Ooh, read and append access. Okay. That's cool. So that means... so you would go to the end of the file and append to there. If the file already exists, its contents are cleared. Oh, okay. So this just will clear out the data for that. You don't want that if you're doing an inventory system, obviously. But you want to be able to change shit. The file is opened it from and written at the beginning. So append just adds to the end, and then read and write would just append it, or would be at the beginning. And then this just clears the shit out. The B character may be added to a mode string as in RB, but this may have an effect on platforms that support the binary mode. It is ignored on all POSIX systems. Okay. Wait, what is POSIX? That's like Unix, right? Almost. Is that Linux? Portable Operating System Interface is a family standard supported by IEEE Computer Society. Whoa. Whoa. Okay, we don't like POSIX, bro. Fuck POSIX. We'll put B on everything just to fuck with POSIX, bro. You can't use my file system. Fuck. So then you could do file write.line. The file must have been opened in one of the write modes first. So if we put W plus, what about W if the file does not get created, if the file already, its contents are cleared? Well, we're gonna try out the read and append option. I think we're gonna go with A plus instead of W plus because I like that option better. So switch this out for A plus. I'm pretty sure it is not a capital A. I don't want to say that shit, bro. What the fuck? Why would I leave that shit running? Whoa. Okay, so we do A plus to append access, R plus to read write access. That's cool. Let me see what I have to do today. Man, I haven't even fucking checked, bro. I know I don't have to do anything other than... Yeah. Looks like I just have to show up at the time. Cool. Makes good sense. Read and append access. If the file does not exist, it is created as empty. If the file already exists, its contents are preserved, and the file is open to be read from the beginning. We've already read that shit. I don't need to read it again. So we have standard input output. As you remember in the strings chapter, this type string literals like student records is a string, which that is true. That's a string right there, consisting of immutable characters, which you can't change any character of the string. strings are pain, but you can work with them. It's not that hard. You just use string.dupe, and you can take it into a character, and then it becomes workable. I'm sure there's a better way of doing that, but that's how I've done it in the past. So, is string consisting of immutable characters. For that reason, it is possible to construct file objects using mutable text to specify the file name. When needed, call the iDupe property of the mutable string to get an immutable copy. Which we don't really want that all of the time. So when you work with that, like taking a string, you'll take a string.dupe. You can't use a string array for it. It's weird. Sometimes I think I have used string arrays for char, but I haven't. I don't know. Look at yesterday's episode. I did use dupe and shit yesterday. Dupe and shit was crazy. But you use .dupe on like a string, and you can put it into a car, and then take the car and then go and append it back into the string. Usually I would use a car array, which is literally this. See, if you just do a normal car, it's just a character, like A or B or some shit. The program above creates and overwrites the contents of a file named student records in that directory that it has been started under in the program's working directory. File names can contain any character that is legal for that file system. Hello. To be portable, I will only use commonly supported ASCII2 characters. ASCII2 characters. Who knows? Reading the file. To read from the file must have been first opened in read. One of the read modes. Okay. Oh. Perfect. Let's figure this shit out. So, what's the output he gets from this? I don't know. Oh, exercise. We're already at the bottom. Perfect. Cool. So he's going to take standard string, string line strip file.read ln, which means he's reading a line from the file, and he's removing any extra space, like dead space characters or some shit. Let's go ahead and try out this shit. You need to import standard string to use strip. Then perfect. And then of course, what does this have? So he does his file and he does it in there. And then he does a while EOF, which is basically saying, if I understand this correctly, is if it's not at the last line. So he's just taking that shit. So not file. Hello guys. .eof. Pretty sure that's the property? Yes. And then more parameters for EOF. I don't know what the parameters would be on this to what this would even specify, but if I wanted to learn more, I could definitely just find that out by the actual stuff. And then, of course, we have our string line and our strip. So we want to read from this file. And then we'll have to come up with a format for how I'm going to do my FSH files. This is going to be the future of config files. I'm going to make the absolute cringest config files of all time. If you've seen the previous episode, we created some kind of weird, shitty encryption system that I can't really decrypt yet. Bro, I don't speak Jar Jar Binks. I don't know what you're saying, man. Saying Sarji Kia Kar Riho Op or some shit. I don't speak Jar Jar Binks, bro. Goddamn. I speak American, bro. Straight up. Have no clue what this guy is saying. String of, right? Huh? Oh, never mind. I got confused for a second. Hold on. Why do I keep switching? I should just make this smaller and make this one smaller so I can see what I'm doing. Kind of just figure shit out here. string line equals, oh. Is that he's just declaring string, and then he's declaring what the name string is. So we'll then do, we'll just copy his exact shit word for word, honestly. Why not? Because I don't mind how he's got it set up. I could totally, you know what? Instead of calling it line, let's just call it ln, because it's smaller. So I like that. What am I, he's asking what are you doing? We're programming some kind of shitty config file system in D language, in the D programming language. Thank you. We'll have to appoint you as the Jar Jar Binks translator guy for now on. It's gonna be good. You'll be the dedicated Jar Jar Binks translator. Man, I'm so sorry, guys. I don't mean to be mean, but I definitely don't speak Jar Jar Binks. Bro. And then that's gonna be the read line. For now, I'm also learning how to do shit too. So I'm like beginner mode programmer right here. My first really cool program was yesterday. I wrote over 300 lines of code for it, which doesn't mean it's good at all. That means it's shitty. It means it's too long. Could be done better. And of course, we want to make a terrible config system. So the way it's gonna work is it's gonna be terribly slow because it's gonna have to wait on an encryption system. So I can encrypt the config so that way you can't read it. It makes it a pain in the ass to work with. And since it will be built into the game that I'll eventually make, it's gonna be at the worst. It's gonna be terrible. Bro, Fish Tech is gonna be the shittiest game of all time. What did I do? Oh god, Gordon, we're doomed. Oh, fuck. Okay, I think we fixed it. Okay. Strip of file dot read and then line. Right? Read ln? Yes. Cool. Whoa, wait, what? I've already got that. Why? Why did I just write it again? What am I doing? What in the same hell am I doing? Okay. So then we're gonna write ln. We're just gonna write what variable ln is. Now, because actually this has to be in here, so we're gonna keep that in there. We're gonna write ln just to figure out what we're doing at first. I think that's the way to go. And then we're gonna ignore his bullshit, which is all of this. Inside of that, it doesn't do anything. Because I value highly efficient shit. I mean, this is just an example book, so who cares? We're gonna compile it. We're gonna do dmd fsh1, and then we're gonna do /fsh1, which should have created the thing, because there was nothing in it to begin with. So now we have a inv.fsh. So now we can open inv.fsh, put it in here, and then we can write something. We'll just put something cool fish. Yeah, cool. Great shit in there. There'll be, hopefully we should get separate lines, because we want to use a read ln for that. So go into here, put a write ln. Or if we want to be like super cool, we put an escape sequence, but I'm not going to try that. I think we're going to go with what we know works, and then we'll just work with that. And then look, I get my something cools and fish. So that's good. So that's the first step, is creating something cools and fish. Now we want to create a write to the file system kind of thing, and then we can read and write to it. But then we would want to have it in separate modes too. So that's interesting. So like one mode you could write to it, hello. Another mode you could read from it. But let's see. So next, we want to come up with ways to use this to create a shitty config system. The shitty config of all time. Well, also, see, if I want to make it actually useful, I want it to compress shit, not to just make it extra fucking hard to read. I mean, like, making it hard to read and making it painful is one thing, but we could just, you know, make it pain-free, but make it have benefits like, oh, it makes everything nice and compact, keeps a nice file size. That'd be the way to make a config system, honestly. But what we could do with this, maybe, is use this to read variables. So, what will I do? Let's try to read variables from a file. I think that's the goal. So if we use inv.fish to store variable, we could store, like, we have a section for ints. Okay, here, let's come up with a format for how I do this. We can make it really easy, like, we have a type, right? So, hold on. So we come up with type, and then we could do square brackets, and then we could have A, B, C. This is just an example. And then semicolon. Or no, colon. No. I like ending shit in semicolons and then have, you know, this is what like it would look like. And well, actually, I'm pretty sure you could do like a type comma and then put in, make it human readable, right? Like, God, I don't know shit about how to make config files. What am I doing, man? Somebody stop me before I screw this shit up. We'll do these brackets, right? That makes the type. And then, of course, inside of the type, it has to be done very specifically. So that way it knows where shit is. Or something. I don't even know. But we could do like, format is going to be, so if we have type here, then it would be like that. And then you could have the next part be declaring it. What is the point of this? Well, I mean, I guess obviously we want to store variables in a way that doesn't use JSON files or anything like that. We want it to look easy, be user readable, so that way even an idiot can do it. That's what I want. So then type, and then we have the name, and then we have name 1. So then, of course, we can then have the values, and then value, and then if we have an array, for example, that's stored separately. No, wait, you could still do an array. So this will just store the type, the value. Or, yeah, no, do the type, the value. So if you did an array, the type would just be like type square brackets. So now we just need to come up with a way of doing this. So type square brackets would be like storing an array of multiple different types of these. This is a great project, I think. This is like one of those ones that makes you think. Now, to make this simpler, so everything ends in a comma. Everything goes inside of curly brackets to make it look pretty. Everybody likes curly brackets. Actually, so if it reads type, that means it's int. This means we're going to be playing with a lot of strings too. So strings are going to be fun. Strings are going to be joyful. But this is a good starting point. What we want to do is take type. We're going to put that before this, right? So type always has to come before the name of the value, right? So if I have a group of ints, I want to have int before each name. And if I have an int with square brackets, that will go before each name. Or the name also could include the array. That would also be a valid format. Or we could have a variable called isArray. So then you could store arrays in an int type, but not have, if that makes sense. Or instead of, like, we want a maximum efficiency, right? So if name one is an array, we'd have an area for isArray, and then that data type can now be stored. This will work super good. There will be, for white space, for readability, we don't want to include any white space, so that will all get removed. So, like, as it goes through this shit, remove the white space as it goes. So that's how this is going to work. I think that's the best way to do it. That way we can declare different data types inside of the .fish file. And then, boom, you have this shit. So it looks for isArray. And then you also would have to define if it's not an array. So in this section we do isArray and not array. What did he say actually, bro? What did he say actually? I'm confused now, man. I don't speak Jar Jar Binks. Like I said, what did this guy say? Bro, did he say some dumb shit and then I read his shit and then, man, I'm lost, bro. I'm lost in the sauce, man. I'm thinking about how shitty these arrays are, bro. I don't even know anymore, man. We could also use this to store loops and shit. Whoa. We could use this to make the .fish, or to make my fucking program write itself. God damn, I'm gonna do so much with this dumb shit. We're gonna fucking work on this shit and make a 2-hour stream tomorrow of the different projects. I have so many ideas right now for this. Bro, it is not even cool. So you would just say, for if it is not an array, you could just do, but nobody wants to say if it's an array or not. What if we don't say it's an array? So we should take the number of these statements separated by spaces and name, value. We could just do by sixes, or we could do if there's, we could do like, no, we don't want to do anything that's going to make a super massive file size, but we also could just remove that. So if we put a type, that means everything down to there. He's telling to get lost. All of his stuff all of this stuff is above his pay grade. Okay. I'm still kind of confused, but I'll take your word for it. But I'm really curious why what exactly he said before. God, I don't even want to try to pronounce that, man. I'm gonna say some shit that doesn't even make sense, man. But yeah, I'll just take your word for it and I'll continue. isArray, and then boom. Bro, this is starting to look like Lua. Fucking hate that shit. Alright, so we'll read it to the variable, right? So we already have a variable in here in my f1sh.d. So the way that works is it just writes the line out. And what we want to do then is find where the comma is. We need to find the comma. And if you know anything about strings, string is basically just the same as an array. So when we take this, we'll go into the back to strings. I think I need to go back and re-reference strings, but strings, because this is where a lot of this shit's at. And if you take out the space, let's go ahead and try running .fish. Okay. dmd.fish./fish. It just reads the same FSH file. Wait. What? Oh, I must not have saved. Okay. Control S. Now, let's try this out again. ./FSH. Okay, it pulls up everything. And it gives us this terrible looking shit. We want to remove white space. So it already strips out that tab from it, so that's pretty good. So if type is before the scope, well, kind of like the scope, or you could say it's a scope, honestly. But if it's before the data, which is in these, then we'll have to start here. So if it reads this line, we want to do a while loop for that. Or, yeah, we could do a while loop for that. And then when we hit the end of this, but, okay. Well, we just want to detect if that character type, or if this type, or if this specific character is in the line. So if that's the read line, that's the start of data. So I think we'll do an if-then kind of statement for this. So if, and then it reads the line and then moves on, right? Okay, we'll do that. If ln equals this, or yes, fucking, oh god. Oh, we put it in a string, yeah. There. That's cursed, but if ln equals that, then it knows it will be a scope. Or the fucking data. Then the next section will be writing each string into it. Or actually, maybe we need to figure it out based on where there is data and where there is not. We also want to remove any white space from the string, so that way, if the user puts spaces in there for some reason, it does double spaces or shit. We want to remove spaces. That's a thing for sure. So before we even get to the right line portion, I'm going to add in a section that does that for sure. We'll hit Control S on this is, what the fuck am I doing, bro? I'm fucking losing my mind. Oh god. Perfect. Hit Control S for now. And then if ln equals this, we're gonna go into a while loop. Or actually, we want to set another variable to true. We'll call it int data, or we'll call it int dt. Or actually, we'll call it bool, so it's even easier. I'm pretty sure bool dt semicolon is okay. I have never used bool statement before, but okay, we're gonna do that. So while, or if, then we'll set, we'll also have it equal false from the start. I think that works. And then we will go ahead and declare, or make this shit. I have never used the bool before, so we'll see how that works. It's first time for everything. Then we set dt equals true, semicolon. And while dt equals true, that will be the next shit. Do I want to nest a while loop, or do I want to try to look like I do know what I'm doing? I think I'm gonna nest a fucking while loop, bro. Nested while loops are not bad. While dt equals true, then it will read the next lines, and then it will break if it reads, if it reaches the end bracket. Except, do we really want to go to the end of the file? We could do like a while loop, right? But then when we hit, while dt is not true, read the file. Okay, so this is the idea. So obviously we have a read line and then that shit. But if we do it like this, we could do this, dt equals true. So if while dt equals false, instead of that file end of, right? That'd work. And then when it equals that, boom. And then when dt is false again, it will end. That, I don't know. I don't know, actually. That's one way we could do it, but I think there's a problem we'd run into with that. So with that, I think what we'd end up doing with that is, so we'd run through the file, right? And we'd hit one block, but we wouldn't hit any of the others because it would stop afterwards. It'd be like, oh shit, end of file or end of data, stop. So for that, we would need to close out the file. I think that's potentially a thing we can do. We could also do an array of Boolean. Array of Boolean, is that a thing? We could do like dt1, dt2. Or that might work, or not. Instead, because we'd have to read it, we could just do an if read that then and have it included in both. Yeah, we'll do this. So while dt equals false lowercases. That's facile. Nobody uses facile, bro. What the fuck is facile is false. False is a lost cousin. Long lost cousin, bro. I'm telling you. So if ln equals that, dt equals true, then it will break from this. Regardless, it should just break from that. So and it only runs the while loop until that, hopefully, because then the condition will be met for it to go into the next loop. So we'll copy this loop, and then we'll enter. We'll paste it in. So that means when you do obviously you can do it like this because it will obfuscate a tab, but it might not obfuscate a space. It might consider space to be an actual thing. So we want to remove dead spaces. That's the thing we'll have to do in both. Now, we're gonna call this one if it's true, and then do if ln equals the opposite, we'll do false. Now at the end of a file, we'll want it to handle that differently. And to do that, we could either do, obviously, we could set dt from this to an actual end of like an integer instead. Because I think we could just use one number to handle this. So with that, we would do 2, we would do 0, which obviously by default dt will be 0. While dt equals 0, then if it equals true, it'll be 1. And if it doesn't equal either of those, we could do a 2. That way it makes it nice and simple, 0, 1, 2, instead of doing like a -1 for like, oh shit, end file. Or we could do a -1 anyway. Of course, we have to consider it's only going to try to execute that one time. And then so we would have to have this all in a loop as well, potentially. Because it will just do these in sequence and then end. So we'll add a while not end of file. Instead of even adding that shit, we could literally just do the end of file thing and it would be way simpler, I think. So, and then we'll have to do some tabs and shit to fix all of this. All of my mess that I've created. What the hell? Come on, man. Can't be screwing shit up like this. The while will be on that same level. Right? dt equals, oh. This will be, it will equal 0. This will equal 1. And we'll have to have these nested, even though I wanted to try to avoid that, I'm not going to do that. It's fine. We'll just put this shit inside of a nested, we could do a while true, but that would just keep going. While file dot while does not, it was like file dot eof and then parameter. Was it that? Was it actually that? Am I right? We're gonna go back, program in D. Files. Perfect. Where's the section where he covers the EOF? Oh, there we go. Perfect, I got it correct right away. We'll also put it in our scope now. Of course, we want to make sure that shit looks good and works good. So we'll hit Shift Enter, backspace, backspace, scope. That looks good. Should be correct, and then void main is still correct as well. This will determine shit differently, so then we can read through the lines. So it should just read to each line as we want it to. We want it to go like this one for the final line. That will be the closing bracket. So when it reads that, it will read all the data inside that. But it will switch over to this, where it's going to probably use a different... we'll continue to use string line. But then we'll also process this data differently. So obviously we want to have int, or if we read an int or a type, which is going to be like the actual int, different stuff like that. We want to have probably multiple different ways of doing that. Equals strip file.readln, which is just taking... So if it's a type, append a type before each of them. So we need a string for type, right? I might be wrong. I might be getting confused. String equals type, and then it will just, boom, that will be used to build it. Okay, we'll just have a string, and then we'll call this one type. Yeah, we'll just call this TP for now. String TP, which won't equal anything, but we will assign TP here. So TP equals ln semicolon. That way, when it gets to here and it's like, oh, we need to append TP to, or before everything, before we put shit in. So that way, when it writes the line, it will write out an appended version of it with TP beforehand. So that way, when we have this, it reads the variable into existence from the .fsh format. Very interesting. This is truly the best data system of all time. .fsh system, guys. We're going to be cooking with these FSH files, I swear. Alright, next step. What do we have next? I want to think about what I'm doing next. I can't think of what I'm doing next. God damn it! We're doomed. We're doomed, guys. My brain's fried. Alright, so we read this. I want to get rid of white space. That's what I want to think of. White space. Back to strings, guys. Oh. Programming in D. We could do it by word sizes. We'll like determine the size of the word and then use it. Or not. And we could just take a character stream and then put it down and like append it to itself to get rid of the spaces, but that's like shitty. They might already have some kind of module that does that. String.format. Return the number of items they could parse and convert successfully. The value compared against the expected number of items. So if you have to have a specific number of items for it, like if I wanted to have that three system, that's also important. Because if it realizes, oh, we have a string, that's kind of important too. You would need to do a formatted read line, which will, every %s I believe is a one of those, but they haven't really explained that. I guess 2% s's means you expect 2, and then of course you could have it these be the variables. Wait a second. This might make it really simple, honestly. Ooh, simple shit. We could use standard.format for this. But we also need to include standard.string, I believe, for some other shit. But what is standard.format? I mean, we have a standard.string already. We could include standard.format. Formatted read. So that's going to take in formatted read. Let's read about it in the actual shit here in the documentation. Language reference. Library reference is what we want. And then we want standard. We want format, which should be in here as well. Experimental. Ooh. Fun. Fun shit, bro. Format. We want format. Package write, read. Read write. Spec. A general handler for format strings. Helper function that returns format spec for a single format specifier. Scrolling down. We have a lot of shit to do. Wait, what is this? Oh, hold on. So it's got read write. Wait, do I already have standard format included? No, I just have standard.string. Okay. Okay. Format string. Parameters format indicator. Format string. Okay. I don't know what that means, but cool. To be formatted in a human readable format that can be used with all types. So that's S. To be formatted as a character. Oh, hold on. This means if you want it to be formatted as a character, use C. To be formatted as a single decimal integer. So then you could use it as like an integer. Oh, cool. This is actually pretty useful shit to know. So you do %D, %U, formatted as a decimal image of the underlining. Okay, this shit would have been so handy working on the encryption shit. Bro, I would have had the encryption shit done in like 5 seconds if I could just do full raw numbers for it. Raw numbers for the encryption, guys. It's already unreadable. The second you start doing numbers, bro, fucking unreadable. Humans don't like numbers. They fucking hate numbers. I'm telling you that from experience. Working with humans, bro, they hate numbers. So, that's good. Note. Okay. Flags. Width, precision, types. Null, bool. These are different, floating point? Which is weird. Float. Float is a fucking pain. Bro, I fucking hate floats, bro. String array. Associative array. Enum. Input range. Struct class. Union. I was about to say onion. Pointer. SIMD vector. Whoa! But we're getting to the point where we could even probably set up some kind. I want to get to structs and enums, bro. That shit sounds painful as fuck. But I know I have to read the rest of the book. So if you read format is what I'm looking for. Read format. So like read format, and then boom, reads it like that. Boom! Okay, apparently there is no information on read formatted. But formatted read is a thing, according to the book. So formatted read. Well, what do we do next with that? So, I want to do... Wait, I want to go into here. Cool. So, I didn't really get to dead space, though. I want to remove dead space, too. Like spaces. Double quotes, not single quotes. Like, obviously, the people like to write spaces, but I don't want to have spaces included. People like seeing spaces between words, but I don't want this shit, the program, to struggle with the spaces between the words. And we want to take a input stream of, like, characters, right? We could totally just rebuild what's written as spaces. Now, we could also exclude spaces from it, so that way it doesn't end up putting in a space where it doesn't need one. And then include spaces in the rebuilding part. So that's the whole entire idea. So when you do that, then it's all kind of fun. String literals. Blah, 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 blah. String concatenation. I have never used concatenation. I can't get it to work because I fucking suck. Okay, lowercase and uppercase are different exercises. So, standard algorithm contains stuff as well, which allows you to find numbers. Let's go check in standard algorithm, which is also going to be in here. It's going to be at arrays. So we discovered this at arrays. We haven't really gone into floating. Well, we've gone into floats. Floats and floating point, I think, are different, right? Or are they the same? I bet they're the same. I bet they are the same. Int array of 10 values. We don't really care. What we're trying to do is find space and remove. Dot remove any space from that shit. So then we'd read it as a car array. We'll take a dot dupe of it, read it as a car array, and start working with cars instead, bro. Or, well, yeah, if you work with a car array, you can only convert to an int array, I believe. And then it becomes absolute conversion spaghetti. Fucking data types. See, data types, the way it works is simple. You have in your machine multiple data types going on, right? So you got your ints, your enums, your floats, and all that Boolean bullshit. They don't convert. You don't convert a bool, which is 1 or none, into an int, which is 1 to a billion, or some shit like that. 1 to the integer limit. Can be also negatives too. So you can't use those data types together. Like, you can't convert because it's called immutable. Well, technically, in some cases, it's that you're trying to convert and it's not going to end up converting. Now, you can take an ASCII character number. Supposedly. I don't know anything about how to do that yet. So you could technically take ASCII character numbers if you could output those, which would basically be the same as getting a U byte out for each character. So each character can be represented as a U byte, and then if you consider a string, it's a U long, so it's an unsigned long. But we don't really want that. We want to take our array. We're going to probably put it into a car, because that's how it has to go, a car array. And then from there, we'll append it back onto the original one. Hopefully. It will be painful, but it will work. It will also probably be slow as fuck. But if it works, it works. Everybody knows. So we'll read the line, and then we want to do a dot remove. Or we could try doing it to the string right now. Like, we could literally just fucking send a dot remove, guys. I bet we can just send a dot remove on that shit. So he includes a section where he does cover the standard dot algorithm, and that includes array dot remove, which allows us to remove spaces or numbers. So we'll just include standard algorithm in our imports and to test if this even works. I don't think you can do this on a array type, so import standard dot algorithm. Hopefully I spell that shit fucking correct, or we'll be spending extra time doing this that I don't want to do. Don't want to spend extra time on my fucking bullshit. I'm gonna have shit to do. So let's go ahead and yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna take our original variable. We're gonna do ln, and then we're gonna do ln equals ln dot remove. Should work. Or equals, maybe it's equals array dot remove, but I think it equals ln dot remove. So because he declares his shit as an array instead of doing what makes sense and giving an actual, well, it's an example. I can't really knock on him for that. I mean, he's not actually programming to his best potential. He's programming for me to understand. Array dot remove and then space. And I think that does work might work. I hope that works. It's fucking easy. Like, that's one line. That will remove every space. Control S to save, and then check that it's A+, which means it ends to the end. But we don't really want that anymore. I really want is just R+. I think that No, that just writes more lines on there in the beginning. Let's just go ahead and do R for now. We don't really need to do any other shit. DMD FSH.1. And, okay, we've ran into some issues. So, assignment can't be assigned as a condition, perhaps equals was meant. Oh, okay. That's the issue there. So, here we have, somewhere we have an equals, or are missing equals. Here, if statement. Both if statements are needing that shit. Control S, try to compile it again. Now we need to do something with these, which is the remove. So, deprecation, standard mutation dot remove, swap strategies, stable, range, offset, if, offset, blah, 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 blah. Is this some this is some fucking bullshit, bro. Oh, okay. Is deprecated. Use a use of non-integral tuples is deprecated. Use remove tuple start comma end. So that means that this shit's wrong. Static assert elements, which is because they're trying to use it on the wrong data type, probably. Dot stable string. I bet there's just a fucking way of doing it that's really easy. We'll just type it up. Oh god, facial, oh fucking shit. Bro. AI. Fuck AI, bro. Remove spaces from a string in D-lang. Should get us the right answer. How to strip white space of a string. Use D language's strip to remove white spaces from string ends. Oh, wait. Oh, hold on. If you wanted to... standard string replace is another method. You could also do this. You can specify characters to strip from start to end using optional character parameters. So that'd be like that. So if you did this, this is a way of doing it. This is also a way of doing it. So standard str replace. Including internal ones. Or you could do removing all white space including tabs using filter. Okay. I think I like this the best. We'll try this, which should be in the standard string area. So instead of doing ln equals ln dot remove, we just paste this shit in here. ln, and then I believe ln, because I think replace would be just adding that on there. So let's try it again. DMD FSH1, and it does work. We'll do /FSH, and it stops working for some fucking reason. Bro, what is it doing? It's in a loop that's causing issues. Okay, so while d equals 0, does it create a new file? It does not change anything in my file. Then we want to read line. So write ln n. Then replace space. And then we want to append the string beforehand, but that's getting into later shit. So, what's wrong? Why is this not working? So reads the line. It's gonna remove any spaces and change it with that, with nothing, no space. which it did work. It did compile, so that's good. Good sign that it compiles. We could put a debug in here. But it then writes an empty space. Replace that. What lang is this? D-lang. I'm creating my own custom config. So what we're gonna do is, this is the format. So you can store integers inside of a .fsh file. The fish.fsh file. This will be amazing, won't it? Truly great. But so you'll store the type. If you want to have ints in your program, you can store int, and then you could have the name of int. So like, for example, I don't know, some name, like name, then you have your value, or you could have value and then isArray, and then have multiple values in here. Oh wait, that'd be weird though. I actually didn't think about this. So if you have a bracket, we could just declare the array with the values instead of trying to convert it from, well, I want it to be as human readable as possible to you. Maybe it could just read that you have 2 values and assign those and create the array. And be like, oh, there is multiple values. Anything after the name, which for the name we should just do a semicolon so we know where the name is at. Which now I think about it makes the most sense. So that way you can be like, oh. And then obviously the way I read where it's gonna start at and be end at for like each type is I'm gonna use these. So that way it makes it kind of, you know, if I wanted it to be even more human readable, I would just use like regular parentheses, honestly. I think humans like parentheses a lot. We'll create a nice human parenthesis language. And semicolons, I don't think anybody uses semicolons, but we'll call this the .fsh. It's for idiots. Quite literally for idiots. The first comma doesn't even matter. You just do type and then you do that. Now we'll have to switch out the program though, but we'll do type, we'll read the type, append it on, it'll be perfect, then Control S. We're running into a problem though, because line.line replace space with that does not work. I need to add in a section that debugs it. So I'll just put in bug. This is a way of me finding the bug. So do dmd fsh1 /fsh, and it does not find the bug, which means we are stuck in the loop, the first loop. Or, damn bro, as a beginner it feels like rocket science. Yeah. I mean, I don't know a lot, but obviously I'm just a smart guy. I know some, like, how to solve shit. I'm pretty good at solving the problems I run into. I don't think I solve it the best way. I think I solve it pretty shittily. Like in my last stream, I created this encryption bullshit that encrypts shit, which I was thinking about including parts of that in this and making a really unreadable file. Like, imagine if I were to make the config be unreadable to humans and like you just have like, you type in fucking gibberish to make the shit work. It'd be terrible. But then it would be like also the opposite of what I want. I want the most open source shit available. Some random guy should be able to use this and be like, oh wow, program. I know exactly how to program in .fsh files. And then use .d. I want people to know exactly how to do this shit. That way anybody could come and fix their, or well, make the shit work. That way, when I make my game, it will be as open source as I can get it. And then I can have it be completely mod focused like I want it to be. Which is all buzzwords and shit, but it's good buzzwords to have. Since it's not like a micro slop buzzwords, guys. Hate micro slop. So apparently it's not even getting into any of these. I'm guessing dt is not equaling 0. Or maybe dt equals not 0. So it reads that, goes into that. dt should equal 1. dt goes into here. dt equals 1. But is the bug not in there? The real question is, where is the bug? So is bug the main loop? Like, I should put in a write ln and then put in parameters to put a bug here. Just to find the bug, okay? Bug squashing, guys. Truly amazing. We're gonna cut this as well. And I'm gonna test if that's the case. Because I think it's not making it into the loop. So DMD. Oh, fuck. Let's see, which one of these? That's the while, and then this is the void main, and then one of these doesn't have one of those on it for some reason. That does a while. Oh wait, but then this. Which one is the other one? The fucking clients. What the fuck? Okay, that's fine. Oh, never mind. It was a semicolon. I like this shit. Oh god. Fucking hell. What the fuck? Okay. It's not the main loop. So it gets into the first loop. But I think it's not removing the dead space. Wait. No. Wouldn't it? Hold on. What? What did I find? This is weird. Does it just replace? So if it can't, then it gets to that if, and then it doesn't ever find it? Wait a second. Is the bug in the first loop? Or the second loop? Is it here or there? Let's figure some shit out, man. This is fucking painful. Bro, the loops here are insane. And I have to go soon, so... DMD, we'll do, this is the last debugging test, and it is in the first fucking loop. I think by the next episode I'll have this shit done. I'll do a lot of the work on my own, but let's see. Just because I want to work on it a little bit. But it's getting here, it doesn't do anything because it reads the line. Then, for some reason, obfuscates like all the data. There's no fucking shit in the end, read a line. Maybe it's not got the right privileges. Right? Like if it doesn't have the right privileges, maybe it's not doing it. Maybe it needs read plus. Well, read plus just gives it right privileges from what I read. So we're assigning ln to TP, and then if it writes line ln, and it's reading a new line every time, so obviously it's in this loop. It doesn't break out of this loop. So when it hits if ln, it's not even checking the ln correctly. So I'm guessing I need to include this ln.replace up there too, in the main loop. And we could just do, instead of, okay, I just realized we could totally, no, we don't need these. Why? No. So we could have data type equal that, but then, of course, we'll just remove like 90% of the code by doing this. So that way it gets rid of these nested while loops. Because I just realized something really simple. And let me say it's really simple, but you can keep it inside of this thing and not have it outside of this thing. And it will just work the same. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure on that. And that's not a great answer, but it will work. All right, it will work. And then we'll have an else if, and then we'll assign that. So if it hits that line, then it knows, okay. But if it also hasn't hit that line yet, then of course it also is reading data too. So we want to strip the line. We want to do ln equals ln dot replace and then do space, and then do a comma, and then do a closed, and then semicolon, Control S, and then we're going to assign DT to choose, or the other one. Else if ln equals, and then the next step would be preparing to read the data, and then pull it from there. This is fucking cool though. I'm making my own fucking data format. Whoa! That's like fucking nerd shit, bro. Fucking nerd shit, I tell you. Bro, I have achieved the total nerd status at this time. Nerding over how my data types are. And then DT will be, we could assign DT to 2. So DT2 is that. So this is DT1. DT2, or actually that'd be 0. So that means if DT is 0 and then it reads that, we'll put the line on a different if statement. So that should work. And then of course if I do dmd compile.d and it runs into that, there's a slash in there. Where the fuck is a slash in there? Why? Good God! Bro, my keyboard fucking sucks, that's why. dmd fsh1 /fsh1 removes every space, so now we have this, which is different from the other thing. So now that we've removed spaces, we're going to detect semicolons. So we'll be able to determine where the semicolon is by reading individual characters, which is a shitty way of doing it. Because that would be slow as fuck, I already know that. That'd have to do a loop, and I don't want to do that. But I think we're going to have to work on this some other time. So, see you all next time, and goodbye. It's been a good stream so far.